Good afternoon, students. We're going to be working on Lesson 1 in Module 6. And in this module, we're going to be working on decimals. With decimals, decimals are just so great to talk about right after Module 5. When in Module 5, we learned about fractions. So now we're going to be looking at or learning about the opposite of fractions, which is decimals. So first, let's start practicing our decimals alongside our fractions and start thinking about looking at both of them, beginning with 0 and 1/10, 0 and 2/10, 0 and 3/10, 0 and 4/10, 0 and 5/10, 0 and 6/10, 0 and 7/10, 0 and 8/10, 0 and 9/10, and 1 whole. Now with any fraction or any decimal, we have a fraction alongside it. We have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, and I want you to finish these next couple. And what would be this final 10th here? All right. So go up and finish that pattern dealing with decimals and fractions. And then you're going to be doing the same thing below, just extra practice with our decimals. So go ahead and finish these out on your own. And the fraction that corresponds with that decimal, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. All right, and go ahead and finish the rest. Great job. All right, perfect. So now that we have a great understanding of our decimals and our fractions going all the way to 10/10 or 1 whole, we are then going to be looking at liters. All right, we're going to be looking at liters and decimals and bottles and looking at 3 different types and giving our fraction of that amount and the decimal. All right, moving to our first water bottle. We need to find out how many liters it actually has. Now, if you can see here, at this line, it is 0 and 5/10. Okay? So what would this line be? It'd be 0 and 6/10, and what would this be right here? If you guessed right, yeah, it's 0 and 7/10. Great. So we have 7/10, and as a decimal, it looks just like that. 7/10 and 0 and 7/10. Okay. What I want you to do for these next two, now that you just saw how I solved it, I want you to try these next two here. However, I'm going to shade in this last bottle. All right, I'm going to shade in this last bottle all the way almost to the top. All right, and I want you to tell me, hey, what was this filled up to? Okay. What was it filled up to? Using fractions and using decimals. And then our last problem down below is going to be your total weight of food. So I have 0 and 7/10. What would that be as a fraction? And then I have a fraction of 6/10. And what would that be as a decimal? And you're going to finish out that assignment today. This one's a pretty simple one when it comes to discovering decimals and discovering fractions. So great job. We'll stop right here, and you're going to finish these problems 2 and problem 3.